So we will now unify our model so that we can sculpt on it. So in object mode, I will select everything and make the torso active. I will then go into the sculpt panel and press union to create a Boolean union of all those different parts, so that when we will sculpt, they will be dealt as a single mesh. So I've activated dynamic topology, switched to constant detail, and as you remember in the beginning here, the resolution is based on a detail size, not really on the resolution. So I've sourced the shoulder resolution as it's the highest resolution, but it is still very simple. And I will just smooth the joints to make them more natural and see if I don't get any bugs from the Boolean union. But here everything seems to go well, and the mesh seems to be viable, meaning that I don't have holes or intersecting geometry. Now, using the grab brush, I will refine my proportion because there were many locations that were totally wrong, too large shoulders, etc. And I will also give some thickness to the limbs and start refining. So one thing before we go further is that I'm struggling while I'm sculpting. I mean, I don't sculpt every day, which I would like. I'm not a AAA character modeler, so I'll spend a lot of time. I will make a lot of mistakes. There are many shapes that I won't get right, sorry, in a first shot. But the thing that you have to keep in mind is you have to be resilient. You have to try and try again. And when you are struggling, just watch your reference and don't try to compare them to your model, but just try to understand how they are moving. For example, here the rib cage, it's larger and it's falling down. So I make it larger on the side and falling down. That's it. I'm not trying to think, okay, this should be like this or like that. No. The rib cage is larger on the lower part than the upper, so I make it larger. And that's it. So a little something about those sculpting videos. They are accelerated, so it may seem like I'm good at sculpting, but that's not really true. Okay, don't get bothered by the speed here, because it seems that I get to the right shape very rapidly, but this is not true. It takes time to sculpt it. So if I would be to make the video in real time, I think there will be hours and hours of video for such a basic thing. So now, using the clay strip brush, I'm just creating basic landmarks of the body, so that whenever we will refine the proportion using the grab brush, like here, it will be easier for me to identify which part of the body is and where it should go. Now, a very important thing about pectoral muscles is that they are attached to the arm. So from the center of the clavicles, they are falling to the biceps. So make sure that your muscles are correctly attached, and again, make sure that you're watching at references when you're doing this. So you may have noticed that I'm just using the standard brush and the clay strip brush most of the time, sometimes the grab brush. There is a little mistake that a lot of people do, is that they abuse of creasing or digging into their character, which is not true. You don't have a lot of holes on your body. what appear to be like creases in most of the time two muscles that are close one to the other, and it make this kind of valley aspect. So whenever you crease an area like here, I'm just drawing the shape of the muscle, but then with the cray strip I will inflate all of those areas and smooth it. And you see that it seems that there are creases in the back, but these are not creases, they are let's say blob of muscle, one close to the other. Okay, so another thing, try to make things hard edged. Don't make your muscle too smooth and etc. Try to keep stuff angular, because most of the time people smooth and go inflating stuff, etc. And remember that your body is made of bones covered with muscle. And the thing that is interesting here is that bones will make sharp angles and your muscle will make nice curves. And the goal here is to be able to create this contrast on our body. So don't make your arms arcing. Be sure that toward the elbow you break the angle and make it really straight and very believable. Break the angle. Don't make curvy limbs and stuff like this. So while I'm trying to get shapes and proportion a little better using the grab brush, I'd like to show you some how to say it, some proportional landmarks that are very important and that we oftenly got mistaken. First, as told before, the biceps falls and connect into the arm. That's very important to get this feeling when you are sculpting the base shapes. Then the rib cage get a little wider and is pointing downward, and finally the hips are pointing inward. When we take a look at the back of our character, from the outside to the inside of it, we can see that the back muscle of the upper arm are pointing downward, while the lower legs muscle are pointing upward. So try to keep that in mind when you will set those muscles. Now look at the contrast between the knee and the ankle joints, where we can see the knee falling inward while the ankle are falling outward. Also very important landmarks that will make your character more realistic. So something I've told before when presenting the different brushes, whenever you use the clay strip brush, and I would say any kind of brush and sculpting muscle, try to follow the flow of the muscle with your brush, like you were layering every single muscle fiber one by one with every brush stroke. This will really help you getting shapes right. And then with the grab brush, try to revise proportion. So one will help you shaping correctly, and the other one will help you placing stuff correctly and giving them a better proportion. So again, I'm always struggling. You can see that I spent a lot of time getting into detail, going back, etc. Because I can't get things right in a first shot. If you feel like there is something wrong with your character but you can't figure it out, just take a rest. Get out of your computer for an hour, and when you come back with fresh eye, you should be able to spot the problem very rapidly, or show your work to anybody else. With their fresh eye, they will point the problem. You should also often change the matte cap to see if the silhouette of your character looks right. That's very important. As told in the very beginning of this chapter, I wanted the arm to be more open because it's pretty a problem. My T-pose is not quite a T-pose. So what I do is that I go into edit mode because sculpt mode offer a rotation tool, but it's not really handy. I go into edit mode, select the arm, enable the fall off, the proportional editing, and I set the 3D cursor as a joint. Then I can rotate the arm, and once I'm done, I just get back into sculpt mode, and using the symmetrize option of the dynamic topology, I can expand the modification to the other side, and then with the grab brush I can tweak my proportion again, smooth the joint, and that's it. In the next video we'll check how to sculpt the end.